Hey everybody, we're here, and we're beginning our next episode of what we're calling our series, The Church, and we're talking with different people in our community at Nashville Vineyard, and we're asking them some questions and seeing how they can help us navigate this time. And so we have with us today Anna Lockhart, and Anna is a therapist in town, and so we wanted to spend some time today discussing how to manage our mental health during this time. And so Anna, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and maybe where you're from and all of that?
Yeah, so I am a counselor. I specialize in working with individuals, couples, families. I usually use emotionally focused therapy with all of my clients. I treat anxiety, trauma, depression, disconnection, adjustment, kind of the whole gamut. I'm a contract therapist for Red Therapy Group, and I see clients in Nashville and in Franklin.
Awesome. And I know just from what I'm experiencing is that this is a pretty anxious time for myself, and I know I'm hearing it from other people. I'm talking with folks that maybe aren't believers, and I know that it seems that they have a heightened sense of panic and fear, and I know that even believers are struggling with anxiety and fear, and then depression. I mean, we're cooped up, we're isolated, we're out of routine. If you're in Nashville, the weather is continually gray, and it rains always, all the time. And so we have all the lights on in the house that we can possibly have on. What else can we be doing to make sure that we're protecting ourselves from, that it's kind of easy to fall into a depressive state anyway. And it seems like it's super easy right now to fall into fear, anxiety, and depression. So give us some pro tips on how we can help manage our mental health.
Sure. I'll be honest, I never really thought that I would be creating a document titled Maintaining Mental Health During a Pandemic. But I did that today. And so I'll be kind of looking at some notes here and there during the call. So the first thing I was thinking about is just as a believer who operates out of the attachment lens with my clients, I really believe that man was not created to be alone. And so one of the hardest parts of this quarantine that's recommended, or at this point mandated, is the isolation piece. And so some of us are quarantined with our spouses and with family members. Some of us are not. Some of us are completely alone in this time. And so I'm, really thinking about that particular population here. So I think it's really important to stay connected. And I appreciate what the Vineyard has been doing in order to encourage that. Whether that's, texting with your family members, calling with family members, texting with friends, something like that is really important. But something else I was thinking about is that the face-to-face communication, kind of what we're doing here, the ability to hear someone's voice, the ability to see their face, connect eye to eye, actually does create a deeper connection between two people. And it can be a very a fulfilling conversation as well. And so I really recommend, if you can, sure, text your friends and family, but also jump on a call and get face-to-face, social distancing wise, in a safe way, using FaceTime or something like that. So that's one of the first things that, I'm thinking about for, having a hard time in this season. I think it's really easy for us to jump on social media. Hey, are you still there? I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good.
It said my internet connection was unstable, so I thought
It'll say that.
disappeared. Okay. Sorry, still here. Yeah, so I think it's really easy for us to jump on social media and stay on the news all day long. And I do think it's good for us to stay informed, but if at all possible, time that. Maybe give yourself 20 minutes twice a day to update on what's going on, and then really kind of stay strict to that and get back to your life outside of social media and the news. Anxiety and fear is contagious. And so if you can kind of limit your exposure to that, I think you'll feel a lot better. Another thing that I'm really aware of is that this season of life is a lot slower for some. It's quieter for some, and not all, but the busyness for some people has been removed. And so I believe that in this time, we might be facing ourselves, facing our stories, and facing our hurts a whole lot more than we ever were. A lot of our distractions are removed at this point. So be kind to yourself. Share how you're doing with a friend or a family member, or get with the Lord and get really honest with God about how you're doing. And a shameless plug for therapists, we're still here right now. And so if you have a therapist, schedule telehealth or something like that. If you don't have a therapist, get in touch with Grant and he can get you in touch with me or whatever, and we can help you find someone. But I really think it's important right now, if things are getting stirred up inside of you, reach out and be kind to yourself and try and connect and kind of process through some of that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah.
I remember from our time as Sarah and I were married, we had this period in our lives where all of a sudden we moved. We didn't know anybody. We were in the middle of nowhere, and we had nothing to do. And
Yeah.
all of my stuff and all of Sarah's stuff just kind of just floated to the surface, and it was like I had to deal with everything at that point.
Yeah.
And I know people are going through that right now. I mean, I don't know if anyone's else has experienced this, but I've run out of shows to binge on Netflix and Hulu, and I don't know what to do sometimes. And so it's hard to be alone with your thoughts sometimes, and things do start popping up. But I think it's good. I think it's healing, and I think we don't want to repress those things, and those things have been shoved down for so long. How can we start to kind of like sift through that rubble, if things sometimes will just fly up all the time from our past, from relationships, from hurts and pains? Like, what's a good way that we can just begin to maybe, I don't know, journaling or something like that during this time?
Yeah, you actually hit the nail on the head. Journaling is absolutely perfect. So I would recommend, if you're kind of starting to feel things stir up, get quiet, slow it down, and just journal about what's happening inside of you. Notice what's going on in your body. When I'm feeling anxious, my chest is tight, my heart is racing. Even right now, my heart is racing because this is fun for me, but it's also a little nerve-wracking. Tap into that. Tap into what's happening in your body. Write it down. Write about what kind of messages you're saying to yourself in this time. Just kind of slow it all down and really explore what's going on. And yeah, absolutely, journal about it. There's kind of a, how do I explain this? When you're journaling, you're using both sides of your brain. And so it actually has kind of a calming effect. And it helps your mind and your brain to be able to process through some of the stressors by using both sides of your brain. So you're accessing emotion, and then you're using the logical side of your brain to write about it. So it has a soothing effect. So yeah, highly recommend journaling.
That's good. And then one of the things that I like to do as well is, once I have that out in front of me, well, there's my prayer points. There's how I can begin to talk to the Lord and say, I didn't realize I was feeling that, Lord. What is that? And spend some time.
That's so good. Yeah.
So that's kind of the people that are isolated. I was speaking with someone on Zoom last night, foreign exchange student at a university. Everyone's gone. It's a ghost town. Only one in the dorm, and they go to the cafeteria, they grab and go, they go back to their room. I mean, it's like being in some sort of a prison camp or something like that. And so there are people all over in very, really hard situations. So it's good to talk about this. It's good to think about this. What about, I know too, I mean, as a married couple, when you're busy, you might have, 20 or 30 minutes during the day between work and kids and chores and sports and all that sort of stuff. And you give a high five as you roll over and go to sleep at night. But now we're really in close proximity all the time. Can you give us some sort of coping skills relationally? Like, I'm just willing to bet that there are opportunities for more fights, more conflict, resolution, and just as things are coming up to the surface personally, they're probably coming up to the surface relationally, things that maybe we were able to shove under the rug that we can't really ignore right now. How do we deal with that?
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier because when we're all kind of in a house together, it's pretty difficult for example, like if a couple is having a difficult time and they've got kids, it's kind of hard to hide it from the kids, right? And so something I'm thinking about is there a way that partners or couples can come together and say, all right, I'm going to tap out as mom for about an hour or two here. Dad, you've got it. You handle the kids from 5 to 6 or 5 to 7, whatever it is. I'm going to go read a book or something like that. And then we're going to switch. I really think that it's good to have some time alone so that you can kind of refresh, get with the Lord, get quiet, and just have some space to yourself individually. So if parents can kind of work as a team to get some time, kind of on their own, if that makes sense. And in addition to that, once the kids go to bed, I really think it's important that even if it's just 15, 20 minutes before you crash yourselves, spend that time with your partner, spend that time with your spouse and kind of talk through the day, reconnect, and that'll allow you to refresh for the next day of fun and chaos and whatever it is. And it'll also give you an opportunity to really talk through anything that did come up between the two of you guys throughout the day that you hadn't had a chance to process through.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you give me like top 5, top 3 ways to handle healthy conflict?
Okay. Yeah. So one of my biggest tips is slow it down. And so when you guys are heightened and it gets, I mean, Kurt and I get into these kind of heated arguments sometimes, and what he'll say to me, he's better at catching it than I am. He'll say, "Hey, we're doing that thing that we do." And that's him letting me know, "Hey, we're in an argument right now, and we really need to take a step back." And if he says that, "Hey, we're doing that thing that we do," he's kind of raising the white flag. He's kind of letting me know, we've got to take a step back here. It's getting intense. And that disarms me. It makes me feel like, that's right, Kurt's not the enemy. You know what, this argument, this thing that's kind of come over us, that's the enemy here. And so we just need to slow down, take a step back. And honestly, that alone allows me to connect with him and communicate in a way that's about 5 notches lower than I might have been at about 10 seconds before. And then just kind of, and when I say slow it down, another thing is slowing down inside yourself. So figuring out what's going on for you. So, hey, when you said that, it just stirred up this part of me that already feels really insecure. And I just want you to know that, like, it just kind of took me up to a whole other notch and it really hurt me. So just communicating from that emotional level, it sends a much clearer message to our partners than some of the other things that we say that really aren't the message that we're trying to convey.
No, that's good. I was thinking, a lot of times we talk about looking at things through a kingdom perspective. It's usually upside down. It's usually,
Yes.
What if we all get a 2-week marriage retreat during this time where we're able to slow down, work on our relationship, and come out of this with stronger marriages, stronger relationships? Are there any must reads? I know like even Kindle is offering a free unlimited service and we've got time to read. And so are there any must read, relationship books that maybe we could work through, or Bible studies that maybe we could work through together? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a book called Created for Connection. It's by Sue Johnson and Kenny Sanderfer. And it's excellent because it's psychoeducational, so it's teaching you a lot, but it's also giving you exercises and conversations to walk through with your spouse. So it's great. It's great for kind of just becoming more aware of what we call the cycle. So this thing that happens when we start to argue and we say some of the same things every time, and it helps us to kind of become more aware of that, slow that down, and just kind of communicate in a more healthy way with our partners. And that's putting it very kind of just kind of generally. But what I love about the book too is that it brings in the faith-based perspective. it kind of acknowledges the fact that we were designed for connection with the Lord as well. And so it brings that piece into the book really beautifully. And I think it would be a great read. And for any non-believers who are listening too, there is a version of the book that doesn't bring in a faith-based piece, if that's something you're more comfortable with, and it's called Hold Me Tight. And it is also by Sue Johnson. So either would be great for couples to work through.
Name the one that's got the faith component.
Created for Connection.
Created for Connection. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Excellent. And then why don't you, as we leave here, I just want to, thanks again. I know that you're working through remote like this with clients. I know that my mom is a therapist. She's doing the same thing. So there is help available for people that are, at risk for suicide and depression. We're already there as a culture. We're already isolated, depressed, suicidal. And so now we need to really make sure that we're checking on folks. And so what about people that we know in our lives that we think might be more at risk? Is there something we can do even more extra to reach out to them during this time?
Yeah, I mean, just what you said is just being intentional. I think this season is requiring more intentionality in relationships from us than ever, because we don't have the convenience of just running into one another at work anymore and kind of giving a high five or seeing each other at church or whatever it is. We're having to be more intentional about relationships than ever. And so I would encourage, all of you to think about the people in your life that this could be really hard on. Think about the friends of yours who live alone. Think about the friends of yours who already struggle with depression, and then this may just add a whole other level to it. And be intentional about reaching out to them. Schedule a Zoom call like this. Get on FaceTime, whatever it may be. And, honestly, get on the phone and pray with one another too. I think that I really think this is an opportunity for our relationships to grow to a whole other level right now. And I'm really excited to see what happens, but it is going to require some intentionality.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
And then just to give a plug for you guys and for everyone else, I know you guys have a small group that's going to be meeting, you guys are meeting, that meets like this on Zoom. That's tonight on Monday. Hopefully this meets out tonight. You guys are going to meet at 7?
Yeah, so we're encouraging people to worship on their own from 6:30 to 7. And then at 7, we'll tune into the calls and just kind of talk about what's going on. And we've got a few questions we'll talk through, and we'll pray together as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. And I know there's another small group meeting on Wednesday and a couple on Thursday. And there's going to be other groups popping up throughout the week. And so if you're watching this and you want to find a group, just send us an email at info@nashvillevineyard.org, and we'll get you plugged in to some of our groups that are meeting, so you can at least have an hour or so of this kind of connection throughout the week. So Anna, thanks so much for taking time. I know you actually probably have to go and prepare for your group. Can you say a prayer
I do.
and pray us out and pray for those that are struggling during this time?
Yeah, absolutely. God, we just invite your spirit to come. I just invite your spirit to fall on this city, fall on this nation, fall on this world. I ask for a blanket of your peace to wash over the people. I pray for those who are feeling anxious. And I ask that you would bring a soothing calm to their spirits and to their bodies right now, in Jesus' name. I pray for those who are feeling lonely and isolated. And I pray that you would bring a deep connection into their lives with you. And I also pray that you would bless them with friends that would reach out to them. I pray that you would make us all aware of those in our life who need to be reached out to, who need to be connected with. Open our eyes, God. Make us aware. Make us aware of the things that you're stirring up inside of us. and the ways that you hope for us to grow in this season. I believe this is a season of growth, and I just release that over the whole world right now. God, I pray for those who are struggling with depression, suicidal thoughts. Lord, I pray that you would meet them right where they are and bring your soothing comfort to them in Jesus' name. I pray that whoever needs to hear it today, tonight, would hear right now that they are worthy. They are worthy of love. They're worthy of kindness, and that you matter. Yeah. I pray that that becomes a truth for your people, God. Yeah. We thank you for the way that that the church has just stepped up in this season, and I just pray that you continue to give us intuitive or creative ideas to just kind of continue to further the kingdom in the middle of this pandemic. I bless your name, Jesus, and I thank you for all that you are and all that you do and all that you've done. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Anna, and I'm sure we'll be hearing from you again.
See ya.